Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Israel and today I will be speaking to you about World War II, more specifically the D-Day invasion. By all historic accounts, World War II was the deadliest conflict in all of human history, with experts estimating the death toll from anywhere from 60 million to 80 million people. By the end of today's speech, I hope to provide to you new information concerning D-Day, specifically 3 points: the preparation for the invasion itself, and the aftermath of the invasion. Let's get started. Okay, so if you see here on this map, this is a map of Europe in 1944. The war had begun in 1939 and Hitler had already conquered Western Europe, Western Russia, Northern Europe, and Northern Africa. And by this time, in 1943, the Allies realized that something had to be done to push back the Germans, or else Britain would fall, and that would probably lead to the collapse of Europe. So in 1943, they decided to invade France the following year. But they knew it wouldn't be easy, because the German forces were far too vast in France, and if any sort of invasion was attempted, they would get demolished, for lack of a better term. So they started with Operation Mincemeat. Operation Mincemeat was when the British dropped off a dead body disguised as a passed away soldier in the coast of northern France. This body was recovered by the Spanish government, then taken back for evaluation. On him, they found a letter that said that the invasion would come in Greece, not France. This information obviously leaked to the Nazis because Spain sympathized with Germany. So the Germans found out, and Hitler wound up moving 160,000 troops from France to Greece. This would prove to be pivotal because it would really lessen the forces that were in France when the Allies invaded. After that, there was Operation Bodyguard. As you can see here, it featured inflatable tanks. These inflatable tanks were placed at Calais, across the English Channel from Calais. This is the closest point between England and France. It's only about 50 miles, so it would be the closest point to where the Allies could come. So they did this in order to fool the Germans to think that that's where the invasion would come, when in reality, it would come 150 miles south in Normandy. So what they did here is they had these inflatable tanks and airplanes and cardboard soldiers. What they were using this for is because the Germans were flying spy planes, and they would see these pictures of this set up army across from the English Channel in hopes that the Germans would move troops to Calais instead of having them down in Normandy and making the invasion easier. Now, on to the invasion itself. The Allies, by the time that they were ready to invade, had assembled a force of over 156,000 troops. This invasion force would land on Normandy on June 6, 1944, in 5 different beaches. As you can see here, the 5 different beaches were Sword Beach, Juno Beach, Gold Beach, Omaha Beach, and Utah Beach. The troops would land in these Higgins crafts onto the beach directly and face heavy resistance. This heavy resistance was due to the Atlantic Wall. The Atlantic Wall was a defense fortification that was built from southern Norway to northern Spain. This was built by Rommel, who knew that an invasion would eventually come by the Allies in France, so he decided to fortify the whole French coast in order to prevent any sort of invasion. This meant that regardless of how many troops had moved to Greece, or that the Germans thought that the invasion would come in Calais, they would still face heavy resistance, and they did. But however, within 24 hours, the troops had been able to storm enough of the beach and land and make enough of a foothold that the Allies were able to establish themselves in France and not have to worry about being pushed back out by the Germans. Unfortunately, like with anything else, there were casualties. If you see here, you'll see that the German casualties are estimated anywhere from 4,000 to 9,000 people. The Allied casualties, on the other hand, they're more concrete, and they're estimated at about 4,400 people. Of course, it was extremely bloody, and approximately 13 to 15,000 people were killed in total over the whole D-Day invasion itself. But it was critical, and it was something that had to be done, because with the D-Day invasion underway, it forced the Germans to fight a war on 2 fronts. They would have to fight the Allies, which included Canada, Britain, France, and the US on the west, and in the east they would have to fight the Russians. The Russians by this point had regathered their troops and were able to push the Germans back out of Russia and prevent them from committing any other offenses. This would prove to be a pivotal point in the war, because now the Germans couldn't launch any of their offensives and they would remain on the run for the rest of the war. And also, this would be good for the Allies, because they were able to push the Germans out by the west, and they were able to get to Germany along with the Russians. So even though it was an extremely bloody conflict, many find it necessary, because without it, many experts believe that the war could have dragged on for years and years more longer than it did, and it could have cost millions of lives. Let's keep in mind that it did cost anywhere from 60 to 80 million lives. So with that being said, I hope you walk away from the speech knowing that even though it was an extremely bloody and dangerous conflict, it had to be done in order to be the turning point that would change the war. Thank you for everyone's attention. Goodbye.